It was a cold winter morning when I first heard the phone ring with a call that I would never forget. The voice on the other side of the line was frantic, almost desperate. It was the hospital calling. My wife, whom I'd known for over a decade, had been rushed in after collapsing at work. They didn't tell me much over the phone, just that she needed urgent care. The panic was evident in my chest, but the worry was laced with an unsettling feeling that I couldn't shake. The gut instinct that something wasn't right had been growing for months. When I arrived at the hospital, the sterile smell of disinfectant filled the air, but it was the coldness of the situation that really hit me. I walked through the narrow corridors, the fluorescent lights above flickering slightly as I made my way to her room. I wasn't prepared for what I was about to hear, nor could I have ever imagined it. The door to her hospital room was cracked open just a few inches, and I couldn't help but overhear snippets of a conversation as I approached. At first, I thought it was a doctor or a nurse, someone from the medical team, but the voice I heard wasn't from anyone I recognized. "You don't have to tell him, you know." The man's voice was low, almost taunting. "We've been doing this for so long, it doesn't matter anymore." My heart skipped a beat. I didn't even have to think about it. It was him, the person I'd never thought to question, the person I'd seen her interact with so many times without a second thought. A colleague, a friend, a liar. I stood there, frozen. Part of me wanted to barge in, confront them both, but the other part of me, the part that had been living in a kind of blissful ignorance, was paralyzed. I could hear her voice, soft and weak, but it still carried that unmistakable guilt. "You know I love you, right?" she whispered, her tone almost pleading. "But I can't leave him, not yet." Those words cut deeper than any physical wound ever could. It was as if I'd been hit by a wave, and everything I'd believed in crumbled. The life I had built, the years of shared memories, all of it felt like a lie in that moment. I couldn't move. I stood there, listening to their words, letting the reality of the situation settle in. Her affair wasn't just some brief mistake or a single moment of weakness. This was something that had been going on for months, maybe even longer. The trust I had in her, the love I thought was unshakable, was nothing more than a mirage, a fleeting illusion that had disappeared in the blink of an eye. When she saw me standing there in the doorway, her face drained of color. Her eyes went wide with shock, but there was something else there, too. Fear. Fear of the truth. I took a few steps into the room, the anger I'd been holding back rising in my chest, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. My throat was tight, and the words felt stuck. What could I say? What would make sense? She tried to explain. She said it was a mistake. She said she was confused, that the stress of everything had gotten to her. But I knew better. This wasn't a simple slip-up. This was a betrayal that ran deep, deep enough to shatter everything between us. I didn't stay in the hospital that night. I couldn't. I went home, alone, trying to wrap my mind around everything I had just learned. How had I missed the signs? How had I been so blind? In the following days, the reality of what had happened hit me harder with every passing moment. I confronted her, once, twice, 3 times. But the answers never changed. She was full of regret, but she wasn't ready to leave him. She said she still loved me, but the trust was gone. How could I stay in a relationship built on a foundation of lies? Eventually, I left. I moved out, and we filed for a separation. We both tried to move on with our lives, but nothing was the same. The damage was done, and no amount of therapy, time, or distance could undo what had been done. I struggled with forgiveness for a long time. The anger bubbled up, especially when I saw the man she had chosen over me, still a part of her life. Years passed. I worked on myself. I rebuilt. I learned to forgive, but not for her, for me. Holding on to that anger would have destroyed me, and I wasn't going to let her or anyone else control my emotions that way. She reached out a few times after that. She apologized over and over for everything, but the apologies didn't matter anymore. They couldn't take away the hurt or the loss I had felt. She had her own life, and I had mine. I didn't want her back, not after everything. I wanted peace. Looking back, it's hard to say if I regret the years we spent together. There were moments of happiness, real love, but it was tainted by the betrayal that followed. I don't know if she regrets her decisions, or if she's ever fully understood the gravity of what she did, but I'm no longer waiting for that answer. I've learned that life doesn't always go as planned. Sometimes things fall apart, and you're left with the choice of either rebuilding or walking away. In my case, I chose to walk away. It was painful, but it was the right decision for me. I found myself again, found a life that was truly mine. So here I am, years later, not looking back anymore. The scars have healed, and though the memories still linger, they don't define me. I've learned to live for myself, and for the first time in a long time, I can say that I'm at peace. Life has a way of moving forward, no matter how much you resist it. And sometimes that's exactly what you need: time, distance, and the strength to let go. To everyone that's the story, share your thoughts in the comments about these events and how the characters behaved, and thank you for listening till the end. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel.